So I'll head to the QRH. We had an engine 2 fire. There we go. So, engine 2 fire. Suspect engine damage if the following following symptoms are observed. Rapid increase in EGT above the red line. I did not note the EGT there. Important mismatch of rotor speeds or absence of rotation. So if we have mismatched rotor speeds or absence of rotation, kind of do. We can assume engine damage, significant increase of aircraft vibration and or buffeting. So if you look down here at our vibrations, you see vibrations on the operating engine are 0.1. But if you look at the engine that's not even turning, we got a 2.5 and a 3.1 on the vibration. So yeah, we can safely assume that there is some engine damage there. Or repeated or uncontrollable engine stalls or hydraulic system loss. If engine shutdown is required, then after accomplishing the ECAM actions, APU, if available, ensure started. We did that. APU gen may be used. The APU may be started prior to performing this checklist at the pilot's discretion. There's a caution though. Let's see, if the engine 2 fire push button is pushed, do not use the APU bleed unless the cross bleed is selected shut. So, if we shut the cross bleed, like so, we can actually use the APU bleed air. Hello, future me here again, and went on rambling on for quite a while about the use of the shutting the cross feed and using APU bleed. All I have to say, long short, is you can use the APU bleed to run the packs if you need to. That way, you don't have one of your engines running the pack, your only good engine running the pack. That way, if you ever needed more toga out of your engine, in the event that you're hot, high, heavy, or terrain restricted, you can get a little bit more toga out of your engine if you let that APU run the air conditioning for you. So that was the whole point of that. I'm going to go ahead and cut ahead in the video now. Sorry about that. Note. This is a very important note here. In some conditions with full asymmetric power, the aircraft may be control limited before reaching the protection system limit. Therefore, in extreme conditions where low speed may be advantageous, such as GPWS or wind shear escape, reduce speed with gear below VLS and respect the minimum control speed. So all that really means, that whole word salad right there, is the aircraft, even though we're still in normal law, the aircraft right here may not be able to, the system protections in normal law may not kick in when we have toga set on one and idle on the other, and therefore when low speed is preferred over staying within the system protection limit, they're saying it's okay to maneuver down close to the hook here to escape the terrain or wind shear that you need to get out of. But be careful, because you may reach the VLS, or you may end up going below certain speeds and certain protections before the airplane's own protections will kick in. So it's kind of an important caution there. We're not really anticipating any wind shear turbulence in the air. Sorry, wind shear. There's no terrain in the area, so you don't really have to worry about that. Let's continue down to approach considerations. Let's see. So at our company, we have what's called a standard landing assessment. If you meet certain criteria, you don't have to calculate out your landing distance. So it says here, standard landing assessment assumes the use of maximum reverse thrust. Considering maximum reverse thrust is not available, the standard landing assessment may be used only if the landing distance available is at least, we're in a 320, 8,000 feet. If we take a look here at our approach charts, if we look in our charts here, bring up Atlanta, and alright, there we go. This is what I'm looking for. So we're going to 9 right. Landing distance available, 8,865 feet. Whoa, that's more than 8,000 feet. So we can consider this to be a standard landing assessment. Alright. Back us off on the heading there just a little bit. Otherwise, complete a non-standard landing assessment with thrust reversers none. Alrighty, the configuration 3 is the preferred landing configuration unless performance or limitation otherwise dictates. So that's why in here, what is going on with the cabin altitude, I have no clue. It says the cabin altitude is at 1,300 feet, which is fine. Okay. It's still a bug in the Fenix there. It's just bugging out for no reason. Which is why we went in here in the box and put in configuration 3, and we did so up here as well, because that's preferred on single engine and an A320. Note, the A320 must use configuration 4 for single engine auto lands. Well, we're not auto landing, so we can avoid that note, or disregard that note. If a circling maneuver will be required, we're not planning on doing a circling approach, so we can avoid that. We're going to disregard that. If level off expected during the final approach, well, we're going to be on an ILS, so we should be on a continuous descent the whole way down. We can ignore that. In case of one engine inoperative, use of autopilot is not allowed when performing non-ILS approaches. Okay, let's disregard that note since we're doing an ILS. When deploying thrust reverse with only one thrust reverse system, utilize both thrust levers. This is important because there has been incidences where they were single engine and they went to deploy the thrust reverse thinking that they had grabbed the right thrust lever and ended up grabbing the wrong one and didn't have any thrust reversers out. So that's why that note is important. They said it's better to use both thrust reversers just in case you don't mess up anything. Now again, we have everything should work perfectly normal, but when you have a thrust reverser open on an engine that's not making any reverse thrust, well, that's not that won't do anything for you. So they want you to use both thrust levers, and then after touchdown, you're going to select both thrust levers to full reverse position, and then you're going to modulate them consistent with the runway conditions, meaning if you're not able to maintain center line that well, you can bring them up to mid reverse so that you get better aircraft control to maintain center line. If conducting an auto land utilizing automatic rollout, well, we're not, so we'll ignore that note. Let's see. Alrighty, all of that just to get to after engine shutdown checklist complete, and if required, go to the applicable after takeoff checklist items. So if you notice, we went straight into an ECAM, straight into the follow-up procedures, and we still hadn't set flaps up after takeoff checklist. So boom, we'll disarm those, go back into our normal checklist here, and say, well, after takeoff checklist is complete. Then monitor the fuel imbalance, and again, very important. It's in there so many times they want you to monitor the fuel imbalance. Yep, we're still burning fuel out of the number 1, and number 2 still has the exact same amount of fuel, so I'm definitely not suspecting a fuel leak at this point. And if required, for long-range cruise, or not long-range cruising, if required, go to the drift down charts. Nope, not doing that. If shut down with engine fire push button pushed and ice accretion, well, we're not in icing, so that should be fine. And lastly, consider our non-normals, our non-normal checklist. So we'll go into our non-normal checklist. At this time, I'll just go ahead and we'll make a turn to the north here. 360, that should be fine. Note, if time permits, accomplish individual items as appropriate. If desired, reference our little threats table that we have either on our checklist or in our QRH. So, 1. Advise ATC. We did that already. We declared a mayday on the way out that we need to go ahead straight ahead to 3000. So ATC has been advised. Request ARF if necessary. They are automatically going to be standing by once we declare an emergency. Dispatch. Coordinate. Advise of diversion. So we're not diverting, but we are returning back to field. And again, the FO can send an ACARS message down to dispatch to let them know the situation, what has happened, and where we will be returning to. I'm going to slow us up to 210 knots. Alright, that sounds good. And we are close enough. I'll put us on a 060 heading to intercept the localizer, and then I'll flight freeze us there. Which is what would actually happen once you get back around in the pattern. You essentially get flight frozen until you're ready to do your approach. Alright, we're rolled out, just about a mile off course, and we will flight freeze. Excellent. So, do we have dangerous goods on board? No, we do not, so we don't have to worry about going through a whole separate checklist for that. And choose one. Evacuation is not anticipated. We do not. So we'll advise the flight attendants. And it has a whole list of the stuff for us to tell the flight attendants. So what we'll do is bring up the cabin on their phone, and we will call up the #1 flight attendant. Hi, this is Betty. Hi, Betty. This is Captain Grey Eagle here. Yeah, what's going on? Hi, so after departure out of Atlanta, we get an indication on the flight deck of an issue with one of our engines. So as a precaution, we're going to return back into a landing in Atlanta. We should be on the ground in the next 15 minutes. We should be landing in the next 15 minutes. And after we do land, you may see safety equipment around the aircraft to just check us out, and then they're going to follow us to the gate. I don't have any other special instructions for you, and I'll make a PA to the passengers. Do you have any questions for me? Nope, I'll let the other flight attendants know. I'll prepare the cabin for a precautionary landing. Alrighty, thank you. So that's done, and now we will make a PA. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. On departure out of Atlanta, we received an indication from the flight deck, and as a precaution, we will be returning to land in Atlanta in about 15 minutes. After we do land, you may see safety vehicles around the aircraft, and they may follow us the rest of the way back to our gate. We do ask that you please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until the aircraft is safely parked at the gate, and I have turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. Once we are at the gate, ground agents will be standing by to assist in connecting you to your final destination. We do ask that you give your full attention to our flight attendants. We ask that you do give your attention to our flight attendants, as they may have some special instructions for you. Thank you for your cooperation and patience. Here we go. So that's done. Alrighty, so our non-normals checklist is complete. And we can come back into the flight deck here, and now you've probably heard of 2 in, 2 out. So we did our 2 out, which was the ATC and dispatch, and we did our 2 in, which was the flight attendants and the passengers. So everyone is notified and up to speed about what's going on and what's happened. The FO has set us up for the approach, and I can let them know, hey, Mr. FO, I am back with you. Alright, Captain. I have set us up for the ILS to runway 9 right into Atlanta. I have my approach chart out. I've reviewed the approach and I'm ready for briefing. Alrighty, sir. I'll let you continue to have the aircraft. I will get the approach chart out and I'll let you know when I'm ready to brief it. Alrighty. So at this point, we're going to get our approach chart back out again. And as you can tell, I am slowly getting a little bit better at this. I do have my charts app set up to always be on top. So, huge improvement over the last video. So now I can actually go in and we can open our flight plan here, go down to the arc mode, 10 miles, and we can check all of our fixes here as if we haven't done this for the 1000th time already. We have Andy, which is at or above 7,000. And then we have defense, which is at or above 6,000. And 4 miles from that is Guy, which is at or above 5,000. That checks. And 3 miles from that we have Easy, which is at or above 4,000, and that checks. And then 2 miles, 2 and 3 is 5, so 5 miles from that is Burning, which is at or above 2,700. And a 3-degree glide slope from Bernie and 5 miles to the runway 9 right. For the missed approach, we aren't going to be doing this anymore. The missed approach will just select the heading and go straight ahead to 5,000 or 3,000 feet. Or 4,000. The missed approach is 4,000. So we could do that 1430, and then I could end up putting in, since we did it once before. I don't know if it carries over if I close out the sim, but let me try it. I'm going to do ATL09 right, and then I called it EO for like engine out. Okay, no, it didn't keep it. That's okay. But we can do this real quick. Atlanta 09 right. It says 095 and 25. We'll call that place bearing distance. Boom. We'll store that. Alright. Alright, so we can go back into our flight plan here. Actually, I have an airport. That takes us down to the bottom. And then we can say ATM09 right heel. Drop that in there, and we can insert that. So now, if we'll climb straight ahead to 1430, then we'll continue out to our little fix there. Excellent. Right, and then from there, we'll just insert a hold. Computed. Insert. That way, everything can go in perfectly smooth, and we can actually delete the rest. But I don't need to worry about that. I'll leave that in the flight plan there. Alrighty, so that's been, the flight plan has been reviewed. The rad nav, we got iPhone 108.9, 095, and a 3-degree glide slope. So 3-degree glide slope, frequency matches. And we'll leave the viewers as is, let them auto-tune. Progress, we'll go KATL09 right, really just for situational awareness more than anything else. We got GPS primary accuracy high with an estimated 0.03 actual navigation performance. Performance approach page, it's set up, thank you Mr. FO, and double D, we don't need to deselect any nav aids. GPSs are still on nav, so we have our double D, so that part is done. And now we can come back up here and ask our FO, are you ready for an approach briefing? And gonna say, yes, I am ready for an approach briefing. And the first thing you're gonna say is threats, because we do a threat forward briefing, so threats always come first. Well, we are a single engine, which means we have to do a toga go around, and we're not gonna do the Polish mess, instead we're gonna climb straight ahead. And that's the biggest threat we have there. And it's like, yep, I agree with you. In addition, after we land, you'll be on the radios and talking to ARF, and I will be in the back talking to the passengers to make sure everyone is seated, that they don't get up until we are at the gate. Excellent. So, with that, we'll be doing the ILS runway 9 right. That's going to be chart 11-7, dated 14 April 23, effective 20 April. Same. Alright, the frequency is going to be 108.9. From approach course is 095. Burn is at 2700. Our minimums are going to be 1226. Touchdown zone elevation is 1026 feet. And the MSA around the airport is going to be 3100 feet, and that's all quadrants. For the for our configuration, we're going to be doing a flaps 3. Auto brakes low. And should we go miss, plan on a toga go around. We'll continue straight ahead to about 4,000 feet, and then we'll request radar filters back around. That sounds good to me. Let's see, it's a 3-degree glide slope. They have a PAPI on the left, and ALS of 2 lighting. And we land, we'll come to a complete stop on the runway. We'll have the airport rescue firefighters come and check us out, make sure we are okay to taxi back to the gate, we're not leaking anything onto the runway there. And then once we get the all okay, we'll taxi back to the gate, probably off of November 10 or Kilo, and we'll hold short of 9 or left, and I'll wait for the instructions there. Do you have any questions? No, I think you covered everything quite thoroughly. Excellent. Well, if that's the case, I can take the aircraft back from you. So my aircraft, already, your aircraft, my radios, and let's do the descent checklist. Alright, altimeters, 29902, auto brake, low, perfect bridge page, set, arrival briefing, that's reviewed, no star, for the ILS runway 9 right, status, come back down, and we still have no changes. So the descent checklist is complete. Excellent. At this time, the instructor is going to ask, are you guys ready for the approach? Which we will respond, yep, I think we're ready for the approach. And so he'll release the SEM. There we go. Alrighty. So I'll go ahead, since we're at VFE next -10, we'll get flaps 1 out. So flaps 1, speed verified. Go flaps 1. Fenix A320, you are 4 miles from defense. Maintain 3,000 until established, cleared for the ILS runway 9 right approach. So we are clear for the ILS runway 9 right approach. I got the approach arm. Both autopilots on. We got cap 2 single. Go capture. I will slow us back down to a nice, comfortable 170 knots. We're in the sim. I got all the time in the world. I know when to mess it up, right? So we'll slow it down to 170 knots. Flaps 1 came out. Status comes back up. Clear status. Clear status. Alrighty. We're VFE next -10. So flaps 2. Speed verified. Flaps 2. There. Checking to see what the rudder is doing down here. It's very interesting what's going on. Looks like it's applying some rudder, which is good. It should. The autopilot should be trimming out the rudder to maintain coordinated flight. I have found that Fenix not quite as much as it should be, but it does the job, like it should before. The climb out, the airplane is going to climb out in MCT. Why it wasn't climbing out in MCT, I have no clue. But Why I have to go down to climb and then back up to MCT, I also have no clue. Once you come out of Toga, it should immediately go into MCT. You don't need to go down a climb and back up to MCT to get MCT again. So those are just a few of my gripes with the Fenix Airbus here. So hopefully we'll be able to see the airport. We should break out above minimums. If not, we'll just do a go around and come back in for another approach, in which I'll try to cut all that fluff around the pattern out and just do just show us from the intercept back into landing, as the maneuver is supposed to be to a full stop landing. Also in the real world, what they have us do, at least once, is they turn the autopilot off and hand fly the entire procedure. I don't know why they have us do it, to show proficiency in single engine hand flying, but in the real world, we wouldn't do that. We would actually let the autopilot take us all the way down to minimums, and then we would disconnect the autopilot there. So that's what I'm going to do. One last check of our fuel here. Yep, we're still burning fuel off our left tank. Haven't got the imbalance yet. The Airbus will tell us when we're too out of balance. Like we just passed the top of descent point there. That's probably where the airplane wanted us to start a descent. I'm just going to stay at 3,000 and intercept the glide slope here and verify at 2,700. We are at Bernie. So, glide slope is alive. Now, and I'll go ahead and once we get a half that one, there goes the glide slope. So we'll go ahead and manage the speed, glide slope capture, set the missile approach altitude. Missile approach altitude is 4,000 feet. That's set. Gear down. Flaps 3, speed verified. Lastly, flaps full, speed verified. Before landing checklist. Altimeters 29902 and 2720. 29902 checked, there's Bernie, altitude checked. Actually, nope, sorry, let's go back up. Flaps 3, I completely forgot about that. Excellent, so there we go. Engine mode, ignition, landing gear, down at 3 green, down 3 green, and the ECAM memo is landing in blue, and that's why we tell the MCDU we're landing config 3, and that's why we tell the airplane we're landing config 3. That helps us, so it's a little memory aid there, that triggers a blue, should we forget. I'm so used to going flaps full, that sometimes that's what I remember you're doing a flaps 3 landing. Alrighty, so I will go back into my landing little thing here. I should really set this up as a landing cam. I don't have it. We're stable. It made the 1,000-foot call out that time. This airplane's been very hit or miss with whether it makes that 1,000-foot call out, or maybe I'm just not hearing it. I got the volume turned up okay in my headset, not too loud, but I haven't been hearing it every single time, which is kind of realistic. Sometimes it'll make the 500 call out, sometimes it won't make the 500 call out. You never know what the computer's logic is. So, should get a 500 call out here. We're not, because the altitude's all over the place.
500.
Stable, target, sync 8. We'll just say we're cleared to land. How about that? Approach lights.
100 above.
Runway. Continuing.
Minimum.
Alrighty. So now what I'll do is, if you're the pilot flying, you're going to look out, look back in,
100.
turn off the autopilot.
30. 20.
And we're idle.
Retard.
We got the flare
5.
out. We're on the ground. I got both reversers out. Nose is coming down. Deployed. Don't know. I must have gotten the fuel imbalance somewhere. Alrighty. So I'm just going to track center line. Let the auto brakes do auto brakey things. Since I only have one engine, it's very hard to maintain center line when you have a lot of asymmetric thrust going on. So let the auto brakes do auto brake things. We're 80, we're 60. And I'm going to bring it back into forward idle. And we'll let the auto brakes bring us to a stop. We got the fuel imbalance all the way. It took us all the way until we got here to get that. So we'll stop the airplane, bring the parking brake up. I'll let the FO talk to ARF. As the captain, you really don't have much to say. You already told the passengers to remain seated in your initial PA. You can always go ahead and tell them to remain seated again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. You may see safety vehicles approaching the aircraft. Once they have done an exterior visual inspection of the aircraft, we will be taxiing to the gate. We do ask that you please remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until we're safely parked at the gate, and I have turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. Thank you for your cooperation. Alrighty, so ARF will come up and visually inspect us, and then we'll say, okay, hey, Fenix 320, this is Rescue 1 here. Which side do you need us to inspect? We'll just say, hey, yes, hello. The brakes are set, and you're clear to inspect the number 2 side of the aircraft, the number 2 engine. Alrighty, we're going to inspect it, so they'll come up, they'll look, see if they can see any hot spots in the engine, and see if anything is leaking, falling off the aircraft, engine parts that should be not falling off the aircraft. And once that's all said and done, they'll give us the all clear to continue taxiing into the gate. And that scenario is done. So, apart from some of the Fenix isms, some of the Microsoft limitations here, we will, that's pretty much how we would fly an engine failure, and that was a second segment failure there. So we didn't get it at V1, we got it after we were rotated and the gear was on its way up. In that case, what you have to do is you got to put the box back down on the shelf and continue your flying out. The Fenix, it does an okay job at it. It's flyable, but it's nothing like what I've experienced in X-Plane, which is far superior when it comes to stuff like that. So, I hope you enjoyed this little inside look at how we would run the scenario for an engine fire with a failure in a second segment climb. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment down below. Make sure you subscribe so that you know when I upload the next video. Until then, bye-bye.